Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is August 5th. Yesterday we were with you and hope you learned something and enjoyed a lot from that program. Today we're offering you something about science, but in a little strange way, because from the title, you'll get it, A Haunted Bowl of Soup.
我们的中文标题呢是移动的汤碗之谜。那事实上 haunted 这个字在英文里面就是通常表示闹鬼的意思跟鬼这个有闹鬼有鬼魂在那里作祟等等的那 bowl 就是碗，那一碗有闹鬼的汤这个在字面上翻来我们是这个意思。
Okay, I'll read through the article first, of course, and then we'll go back and explain each and every sentence for you. Nobita had a very long and trying day at work. He left feeling exhausted and decided to eat dinner at his favorite Japanese restaurant. As he entered the restaurant, he noticed a vacant seat. He plopped down and called the waitress over. He ordered a bowl of miso soup, a small plate of nigiri, and a shrimp and asparagus hand roll. Within minutes, the waitress brought his hot miso soup and placed it on the table. She said she would be right back. Nobita noticed that his hot bowl of soup was very slowly moving across the table. Then he noticed that inside the bowl, a mysterious dark ball was forming. The bowl continued to slowly slide across the table. "Ghost!" he cried. He then ran out of the restaurant. What happened here? No, it's not a ghost story. Nobita wasn't hallucinating either. The bowl did move. An unexplainable ball did form in the middle of the bowl. How could these events have happened? Once placed in front of Nobita, the hot bowl began heating the table, causing steam to form. The steam turned to water and collected at the bottom of the bowl. This reduced friction and allowed the bowl to slide. The hot soup also heated air trapped in the indentation under the bowl. The expanding hot air actually lifted the bowl up, causing it to slide on the wet table. As for the ball inside the bowl, the particles of miso simply followed the convection of heat rising in the liquid, like thunderclouds rising and forming on a hot summer day. Someone please tell Nobita that what he saw was not supernatural. It was the natural world of physics.
I love that we could possibly be modeling clouds in miso. Why are you guys having miso soup? We're modeling clouds.
Yeah, 所以味噌汤可能有人注意到里面常常会看到好像云一样那种东西 Yeah.
So Nobita had a very long and trying day at work. What is a trying day? It tries your nerves is what it does. To try you is to make you feel like you've been tried. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining myself very well. It means he had a terrible day that was full of things that made him feel irritated.
Challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, trying 就是简单的说这个 difficult to deal with 或者什么 causing hardship 让你觉得这个或者是 irritating 反正就是这一天就是对你是很大的测试测试你的忍耐度，测试你的这个耐心，你的极限等等的。好，所以这个句子他说呢，这个 Nobita had a very long， 事实上我们就可以讲had a very long day at work。这个通常常听得到。那当你说 had a very long day at work， 意思就是这一天感觉起来很长，那其实就表示 it's a difficult day 因为你感觉起来时间time seems to go by slowly 那种感觉很难熬。好，所以他这天不但是很 long， 而且非常的 trying 所以事实上这个 had a very long and trying day at work， 我们可以翻成度过了漫长而且很难熬的一天。好，那但是他的这句话的功能跟中文里面讲的说他上班累了一天那种感觉很像他上班累了一天所以终于下班了，他想要放松一下。
He left feeling exhausted and decided to eat dinner at his favorite Japanese restaurant. Because of his challenging or trying day, he felt exhausted, very, very tired, and he decided to eat dinner, maybe to treat himself, because he went to his favorite Japanese restaurant.
好 he left 他离开啊，这个地方指的就是 left his office 哈。那 feeling exhausted 那这个是一个分词片语哈，我们常常可以把分词片语放在主要动词后面啊，来修饰一下，来形容一下这个主要动词发生的时候，这个主词它的状态是怎么样。所以主词做的这个动作叫做 left， 然后他做这个动作的时候，他的状态是 feeling exhausted， 感到精疲力竭。好，我想 exhausted 最好的一个翻译就是精疲力竭，这中文跟英文意思都非常的接近哈。所以他离开办公室的时候呢，已经累坏了，精疲力竭了。然后呢，他 decided 他决定。好，所以各位可以看到这个句子的结构，第一个动词是 left，he left。好 blah 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 and decided 这是第二个动词。好，所以他离开，然后呢，他决定要干嘛呢？要 eat dinner， 要去吃晚餐。在哪里吃呢？在哪一个餐厅吃晚餐啊？如果把那个餐厅当成地点的话，我们用的介系词是 at。好，所以他决定要去吃晚餐 at his favorite， 在他最喜欢的这个日式料理日本餐厅里面，他决定去那里吃晚餐。
As he entered the restaurant, he noticed a vacant seat.This is such an important thing. When you go to your favorite restaurant, the instant I'm in the door, I'm like scanning. I'm like, yes, there is one. Because if you have to wait and you've already had a trying day. Lucky guy, he found a vacant seat.
好，所以 as he entered the restaurant, 哈 entered 就是进入哈 as he went into the restaurant， 他进入餐厅的时候，他走进餐厅呢 he noticed， 好 noticed 就是become aware of by seeing 的意思，就是注意到了的意思哈。那这里用 notice 的感觉好像是就他找了一下那种感觉，然后看到可能有一点点距离的地方，他注意到了有一个 vacant seat。好 vacant 就是空的意思 not used， 所以他注意到了一个空位叫做 a vacant seat。 好，那空位当然是可以数的，所以是 a vacant seat。
He plopped down and called the waitress over.If you plop down in the seat, you're either very rude or you're very tired.
Either way, it's like a flump feeling.
It's almost like falling down onto the seat.
好，所以 plopped down the seat， 好，这感觉起来就是这个像我们讲一屁股坐下那个意思哈。plop 这个字呢，本来是这个掉到水里面，然后有一点声音那种感觉哈，就是 fall or drop。with a sound like something 这个 dropping into liquid 所以好像是掉到水里面那种声音，啪的一声这样子那在这里就是一屁股坐下还有一点各位可以联想到有一点点音响效果在那边，就啪一下子坐下去了然后呢 called the waitress over call someone over 就是把某人叫过来。那通常在这个餐厅里面的这个 waitress 你就请 waitress 过来，通常英文就是这样讲call the waitress over。
Call the server over. So he ordered a bowl of miso soup, as one does in a Japanese restaurant, a small plate of nigiri, which is sushi.
握寿司 Yeah, sushi.
Yeah.
It's a kind of sushi.
Yeah, nigiri is the whole thing is rice with fish in it. Sashimi is a slice of fish on a piece. Well, no, there's no rice.
Yeah.
Sashimi has no rice, but nigiri has a rice base, and in some places they also cover it with rice.
Right. Okay. So in English, we call the average American calls what you just called nigiri sushi, and then we call sashimi just the no rice fish.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was confused a little bit by nigiri because not that familiar with Japanese culture actually. He also got a shrimp and asparagus hand roll. A hand roll is, I know this, the stuff with rice wrapped around it and a seaweed wrapped around that.
Yeah, 手卷。
Oh, yes.
Yeah, hand roll 就是手卷。那刚刚讲的 nigiri 就是握寿司上面常常会有生鱼片，那底下是那个米就是这个我想大家讲握寿司都知道。那刚刚讲的 sashimi 当然就是这个生鱼片通常没有米的所以呢他 ordered 他点了一碗的味噌汤miso soup 就是味噌汤，然后呢这个一小盘的这个握寿司然后呢还有这个虾，还有这个芦笋的手卷。
Ebi aspara temaki.
What?
That is shrimp and asparagus hand roll.
Ah.
Oh,
The only
Japanese for it? Oh, okay.
The only Japanese I know is food.
Okay.
You know what? If you're going to know words in a language, food is the words you should know.
Yeah.
I'll never starve. Okay, next sentence. Within minutes, the waitress brought his hot miso soup and placed it on the table. Remember, he called her over, gave her his order, and the first thing that she brought to him was that hot miso soup.
好，所以几分钟之内，哈 ，within minutes， 好，那这一位这个 waitress 就把她的热的味噌汤带来了，然后呢 ，and placed it on the table， 好 ，place 就是 to put something in a particular place 啊，那在这里这 particular place 就是 on the table， 把这个味噌汤放在桌上。
She said she would be right back. Notice she didn't say she will be right back. Why do we have would instead of will here?
It's a past tense story.
It is a past tense story.
Yeah， 这个地方本来是 will 啊，因为这个 waitress 显然他讲的时候讲 I'll be back， I'll be right back， 啊是用 will， 但在这里因为我们是主要动词是过去式啊 ，she said， 所以呢，它子句里面这个 will 也要受到这个主要动词的影响啊，那变成这个 will 的过去式变 would。I
just wanted to point that out because I am so tired of correcting this on students' essays. Please notice past tense, people. Thank you.
好，没有错哈，这个地方这个 would 各位要记得，因为某人 said， 某人 would do something 啊，各位就记得啊，这个因为 said 是主要动词，那后面那个子句除非是真理，不然的话呢，后面那个子句也会受到前面 said 这个主要动词的影响啊，所以 will 就会变成过去式 would 啊，所以 she said she would 那 be right back 这个是常常这个 waitress 会或者服务生会说的话哈，这 I'll be right back 就我马上就会回来，回来干嘛呢？就带你点的东西来给你。
Okay, our second paragraph. Nobita noticed that his hot bowl of soup was very slowly moving across the table. This should be pretty easy to understand, but, what's going on here?
The first time this happened to me, I was like, wow, that's so cool. Why is it moving?
Yeah, well, this may be very easy to understand, but I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Why didn't you say Nobita noticed that his hot bowl of soup was moving across the table very slowly?
Or moving very slowly across the table.
What are the differences? He said was very slowly moving across the table.
Right.
As opposed to was moving across the table very slowly.
Same meaning.
Or moving very slowly across the table.
We're focusing on the movement first and then the position.
So you're emphasizing how slowly it was moving.
Correct.
So here, very slowly moving across the table, you put very slowly in front of moving to emphasize.
That's right.
That it's slow.
That's what we're focusing on because on the table, there's nothing special about that.
好，所以这个各位注意到哈，这个其实是看起来很简单，但是其实很难的一个问题，就是为什么 Bruce 老师他写的时候他没有说啊，这个热的这碗汤呢 was moving across the table， 然后呢 very slowly 啊，因为如果你把 very slowly 放在句尾的话呢，这个是它正常的位置哈，那就没有那个强调的感觉。但是如果你把它说 was very slowly 啊，然后再讲 moving across the table， 这个时候你的 emphasis 就是在这个 very slowly 上面，你强调是这个 very slowly。好，所以改变了这个副词经常的位置，就会造成一个强调的效果啊。所以这个是各位可以注意到的地方。因为这句话你也可以写说啊 ，the hot bowl of soup was moving across the table very slowly 啊，那这样的话感觉起来就没有什么强调的感觉了。那 OK 好，那这个另外一个可能就你可以说 was moving very slowly across the table. So what would be the emphasis here?
Moving.
Was moving very slowly across the table.
It's a weaker version of what Bruce just said because it's moving and it's moving slowly and then the least important thing is that it's going across the table.
啊，所以各位，我帮各位挖出了这很重要的东西。如果你把这个 moving very slowly 啊就是把 very slowly 放在 moving 跟 across the table 之间的话，你还是把 very slowly 往前提了，但是没有提到 moving 的前面，所以你还是强调了 very slowly， 但是没有像我们这个杂志上这个版本那么强啊。最强的说你要强调这个 very slowly， 最强的办法就是把它放到 moving 前面， was very slowly moving across the table。那次强的方法是 was moving very slowly across the table。那最没有强调的就是把 very slowly 放句尾，moving across the table very slowly.
You know, I love that we're talking about this because modifiers in a sentence, this is something I've been talking about with my students a lot lately. When you modify something in the sentence with more information, where you put that information affects the feel of your sentence. Ideally, you put it right next to the thing you're modifying. But sometimes you can move this modifier around to give a more writerly sense or to give more information. So our next sentence is a good example of this. Then he noticed that inside the bowl, a mysterious dark ball was forming. Now, we could have written, then we noticed that a mysterious dark ball was forming inside the bowl. And that would be fine because inside the bowl is not too far away from noticed to make it unclear. And it just becomes sort of a locational information. But by putting it in front here, he noticed that inside the bowl, we're making a contrast between the fact that originally we were talking about the bowl itself moving, and now we're adding that even inside the bowl, something weird was happening. So we're intensifying the feeling of weirdness by putting inside the bowl further up into the sentence, further forward into the sentence.
I'll collect my Nobel Prize now. Thank you.
For writing.
Yeah. 所以各位，我们刚刚做这个分析其实非常重要，但是是我们很多人学英文的时候没有学到的一部分哈，就是大概学校或者老师在教的时候，他只能跟你讲说啊，这个 inside the bowl 可以放句尾，也可以放这里。但是其实我觉得更重要的一点是 what's the difference？ 为什么我们要把这个 inside the bowl 提到前面来？那像 Bruce 老师呢，他写这篇文章，他写的时候其实是一个 writer 的直觉，他就觉得说，我就要把它放到这里啊，那才符合我要表达的意思。但是我们读的时候要读得懂啊，然后这样你自己才能写出来。也就是说，你要了解为什么 inside the ball 要放到前面来，他为什么不放后面？他为什么不说 dark ball was forming inside the bowl？ 因为那样子的话呢，就没有任何的强调，因为原来地方副词本来就是在句尾的。好，但是你如果把它提到前面来，这个时候就强调了，是在这个碗里面哦，有一个什么？有一个 mysterious dark ball was forming， 所以有那个强调的作用。所以这句话我们可以看到说，他 noticed that， 他注意到呢，在碗里面 inside the bowl 有一个 mysterious， 有一个很神秘的有一个这个dark 就是很深色的球状物 ball was forming 在这个形成当中，而且其实各位看到这个句子最后这个字呢是 forming 那一般来讲英文的句子的尾巴句尾也是最重要的资讯，所以你看到这个句子的时候，你脑袋里面就看到最重要的感觉 forming 有个东西在成型当中。
The bowl continued to slowly slide across the table. So we have more information here.He noticed that it was moving, and now we learn it's still moving. It's continuing to move.
Yeah, 那各位可以看到这个碗呢 continued to 它持续的 slowly slide。那各位注意到它为什么不写 slide slowly 呢？因为 slide slowly 跟我们刚看到那个完全 very slowly 完全一样。slide slowly 那就有强调，但是不是那么强调。但是 slowly slide， 你看到哇 ，slowly 这非常明显，是慢慢的 slide 是滑动所以 slide 就是 to move smoothly along a surface。所以呢，它在这个平面上滑动，那是 across the table， 看到那个碗慢慢的滑过那个桌子。我想很多人有这种经验呀。
Ghost! He cried. He then ran out of the restaurant. I'm gonna be like, Nobita had a very hard day.But anyways, he felt it was a ghost. And then he did what one does when one thinks one sees a ghost, which is one runs away. Well, there's fight, there's flight, and then there's freeze. Some people will punch the ghost. And this is true. I've seen YouTube videos where somebody tried to scare their friend by jumping out of a trash can, and their friend, instead of freezing or running away, just straight up punched him out. Like completely, the guy just fell over cold, and then the friend who punched was like, "Wait, what just happened?" So fight is a response, and flight is a response, and freeze is a response. And Nobita's clearly a runner.Yeah,
fight 就是被吓到的时候呢，就立刻反击。那 flight 就是溜了，F-L-I-G-H-T。那另外一个是 freeze， 就是傻住了，这个冻结在那边动不了了。那在这里呢，我们显然这个看到Nobita 他是 flight， 他会溜了所以他 ghost 有鬼啊，然后他就 ran out of the restaurant.
Okay, our third paragraph. What happened here? No, it's not a ghost story. Nobita wasn't hallucinating either. So we ask, all right, what's going on? What's happening here? First, the writer tells you, no, it's not going to be a ghost story. Although you may wish it were.
That would be a funny way to start a ghost story.
And another thing is that Nobita, our main and only character really, wasn't hallucinating. He was not...
imagining things.
Imagining or dreaming something, or the effect of taking certain drugs will make you see things that don't exist.
好，那 what happened here? 这里到底发生了什么事情呢？好，不 ，it's not a ghost story. 这不是一个这个 ghost story， 不是一个这个鬼故事啊。那 Nobita wasn't hallucinating. 他不是有幻觉。好 ，to hallucinate 就是 to see or sense something that is not really there 啊，就是幻觉。
The bowl did move. He wasn't making this up and he wasn't seeing things. And an unexplainable ball did form in the middle of the bowl. His miso did group up in the center of his bowl, which he couldn't explain. So both of these things really did happen. He wasn't just seeing things.
所以呢，这个碗真的有移动 ，did 是强调 the bowl did move。然后呢 ，an unexplainable 就是无法解释的那个 ball 一个球状物呢 did form 的确有形成 in the middle of the bowl， 在碗里面的确有这么一个球状物形成了。
How could these events have happened? Well, please explain to me, if it's not a ghost, how can a bowl slide across the table and some weird thing happen inside the bowl?
这个事情已经发生了，所以要用 have happened 啊。所以 how could 这是怎么可能呢 ？These events 这些事情怎么可能会发生呢？怎么会这样发生的呢？
Once placed in front of Nobita by the waitress, once the bowl was put on the table, the hot bowl began heating the table because the bowl was hot because of the soup in it. And the table presumably was just a little bit wet, as they often are in restaurants because they've just wiped them down. And so this caused steam to form in the little space below the bowl because you know how the bowl has like that foot around it and there's a little cavity there.
Yeah.
Indentation.
Yeah. 等一下我们看到的字啊 indentation 啊，我们等一下看到的是在解释这句话。我们看到他说啊，你一旦 once placed 就是这个碗啊被放在这个前面 once it was placed， 那 it was 省略掉了。它一旦被放在这个Nobita 的面前 in front of Nobita 的面前的时候呢，那个主词就是 the hot bowl， 这个热的碗呢开始 heating the table， 开始加热这个桌子，然后 causing steam 使这个开始使得蒸汽 to form 来开始形成，所以 cause A to 动词就是让 A 去做这个动词。
The steam turned to water and collected at the bottom of the bowl. Steam is very hot, but it has to cool, and when it does cool, it returns to water.
Yeah, 那这个蒸汽呢，它就转变成水 turned to water， 然后 collected 就聚集 at the bottom of the bowl 啊，在这个碗的底部。
I would say at the foot of the bowl. And this reduced friction where the bowl was therefore standing on the table is a pool of water collected where the bowl was touching the table. And this collection of water reduced friction. It made it easier for the bowl to slide. It allowed the bowl to slide.
Reduced 就是减少。那这样的一个现象就减少了啊，这个因为蒸汽转成水了，那就减少了摩擦力 friction。然后呢，让这个 bowl 可以 slide，allow someone to do something， 或这个地方 someone 就或者 something 啊 bowl， 让这个碗可以去滑动。
The hot soup also heated air trapped in the indentation under the bowl. Again, the soup is still hot, and heat comes out of it not only on top, but from the sides and the bottom. In the bottom, there is that indentation. There's a space there. Air is trapped there, and that air heats.
好，所以这个热汤也怎么样？加热的 air 空气，这空气是哪里的空气呢 ？The air that is trapped in the indentation 啊 ，trap 就是被陷在啊这个某一个空间里面的这个空气。那这个 indentation 就是 凹陷的意思啊。这个 den 是牙齿啊，那个 in 就是咬进去，所以我们写文章的时候，那个每一段的前面的缩行，英文叫 indent 啊 indent， 你可以看到好像这牙齿咬下去，一篇文章左边被牙齿咬了一个凹进去的地方啊 indentation under the bowl.
The expanding hot air actually lifted the bowl up because air, as it expands, wants to go somewhere, so it wants to go out, and the most easy way for it to go out is to go
up.
Well, in this case, it pushes up so it can go out from underneath. Not that it's thinking about it, it's just that's where it's finding its way to go. So the fact that the air lifts the bowl up makes it even easier to slide on the table because the friction is reduced even more by reducing the pressure of the bowl onto its feet on the table.
Yeah, 所以 the expanding 扩张的这个热空气呢，事实上就 lifted the bowl up， 把碗举起来了啊，使得这个碗就 slide 开始滑动啊 on the wet table.
As for the ball inside the bowl, the particles of miso, miso is a kind of grain, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very, very small pieces of that would be particles.
It's fermented beans and wheat, usually.
Yeah.
Beans and wheat, little pieces of very small pieces, so we call them particles. Simply followed the convection of heat rising in the liquid. This means that the heat in a liquid, just like heat in the air, rises up. And if it's in a bowl, it's warmest in the middle, away from the sides, and that's where most of the rising takes place. And as it rises, it picks up those pieces of miso and raises them up, and that tends to form a ball inside the liquid. You can see this in the summertime. In the morning, clouds, heat will raise water vapor into the atmosphere, and by the afternoon, that water vapor turns into thicker and thicker and heavier clouds. That's how we get thunderclouds, and that's how we get thunderstorms.
所以这空气对流啊，所以他说这个至于 as for 至于那个碗里面的那个球状物呢是什么？是 the particles of miso， 就是这个卫生的这个颗粒呢，它就是 simply。很简单，它就是 followed， 就是跟着 the convection， 就是对流 of heat， 就跟着热对流啊。那这个热就这样怎么样，在这个液体里面就上升啊。然后呢，就好像这个雷雨云啊 ，thunder clouds rising and forming on a hot summer day， 好像在一个很热的夏天，那个雷雨云就是这样用热对流的关系啊上升，然后形成了雷雨云。
So someone please tell Nobita that what he saw was not supernatural. I mean, if you see him, he may be long gone.
If you can run that fast.
If you can run that fast.
Yeah, 所以这个谁啊，赶快告诉他一下。这个 someone please tell 这个英文的中文的语气大概就是谁去跟他讲一声吧啊，谁去跟 Nobita 讲一下吧。他看到的东西 what he saw 并不是 supernatural， 并不是超自然现象。
It was the natural world of physics.It wasn't supernatural, it was natural. Physics can explain what happened to the bowl and inside the bowl.
Yeah, 所以不是 supernatural， 不是超自然现象，而是 natural， 是自然的。所以呢，这个是这个自然的物理界现象啊，也或者是物理界的自然现象。
Well, that's it for today's lesson. Hope you had a good time with us. We'll be back later in the month. Join us and our other fine teams here at IV